What was that?
Oh my crap!
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Couch Fridays here with me, Summer Nosuke, also known as Summer, and
Ointment Fly, also known as Anderson.
yay! And we're back again with another discussion of our current favorite game, The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, and what a ride it has been so far.
It has been an amazing ride. We've put a number of hours into this game, and we're up to the part where
Dina is, spoiler alert first. Right?
Wait, spoilers. Counting, get up out of here. We love you. Mwah.
Honestly, but yeah, it's gonna get more brutal, honestly, as we get further into the game, we learn more. And in order to really digest that and talk about it, yeah, spoilers are gonna be kind of inherent at this
Yeah.
point. That said, here's your warning, so get out.
But come back later.
Please. When we last left off, Ellie had just shared her secret about her immunity, and Dina had just shared a secret about being pregnant.
So we played for several more hours
Yeah.
into this game, and I have to tell you, just from an observer standpoint, I'm in love with this game.
Yeah.
I'm in love.
Honestly, yeah, it's funny. I thought about that, and this is our third segment on this game, and I thought back to a lot of the other reviews I've watched and a lot of the other videos I've watched of people, in their playthroughs. One of the things we haven't outrightly said to you, our viewership, who we're so glad for, is whether or not you should buy this game. And I will say, just from the standpoint of someone who has not beaten it
We
yet,
haven't even finished it yet.
I would buy it just for what I played.
Resounding
thus
yes.
far. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It really, for several reasons, most of which we'll cover in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get that out of the way. Get this game if you're even slightly interested in it, please.
If you even know even a bit of the story, you just want something that's going to grab you and pull you into this world, as just an escape from the world that we're in now, get this game.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Indeed. In so many ways,
Really
though we try to avoid the political or anything else outside of what's going on in the gaming world right now, it gets us by in a way I really can't put into words.
Gets us through the day. We're excited to come home from work and just put some hours into this game. And
I'm not
it's
excited.
A great experience.
Yeah, I'm not excited to wait. She gets home later than me, so
I'm sorry. I've
a lot
tried.
of that. Yeah, it's cool. It happens. So yeah, let's get into it. Honestly, one of the first reasons I think thus far that we've experienced so far is the depth of the relationships and the development therein.
Yes, this is a game all about character development and relationship development and making them organic and meaningful, and we feel as if they're as realistic as our relationship.
Yeah. First,
Real
I mean,
world.
the Paramount characters, Ellie and Joel. Okay, so like you get out of the first game and they're cool, they're great, they're doing fine, and then you go into this game and you assume the same thing in the beginning. You assume everything leading up to that fateful 2.5 hour mark. Rest in peace. Was hunky-dory for these two. That's not necessarily the case, and that develops through flashbacks and through conversations in real time, but also flashbacks to period after the first game, but before the second. And wow, it's very eye-opening.
It is.
It's all driving you towards answers filled in about what happened in the beginning of the game, but it's all in the name also, I feel like, of changing really what your perception of what you saw.
Well, because it's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
We left the two, Ellie and Joel. You know, they were in a decent. They were decent to each other.
Father-daughter dynamic.
Daughter. And then in this one, it's just, you know, don't talk to me. I cannot forgive you for this. You took my choice away from me. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of resentment.
Yeah, once that secret comes out,
that resentment is like high level. It almost trumps everything else that they went through in game one.
That this man did for this child. So it's another relationship that you see kind of take. You see a lot of changes in Ellie and Dina's relationship, but so far it's been for the better. Even though they've had some rocky hurdles, you see they work it out. I will say I was happy to see early on in our next playthrough after finding out that Dina was pregnant. They work it out and they kind of get past it.
They do, and I think Dina becomes what Joel used to be to Ellie. Dina becomes that sense of home.
Yeah.
That sense of love, that sense of belonging.
But there's still one of the questions we had going into it, if you remember the end of our last episode, was will there still be that resounding sense of resolve in Ellie's campaign to get vengeance? And you see right off that there really is.
Yes.
She's in between vomiting. She's helping her plan for the next move.
She's doing logistics.
Yeah, she's working it out. She's the dude in the chair. The person in the van, so to speak.
And that's good because that's what Ellie needs. Mm-hmm. She needs someone to back her up in this because she no longer has Joel.
Yeah, and it's funny you mention that again because Naughty Dog, I appreciate the nature of the ruse y'all pulled. I do, but and what I mean in that is getting into another relationship is the relationship between Ellie and Jesse, and Jesse's his introduction into Seattle, which was basically where you told us, less than a year ago that hand over her mouth and pulling her back into the shadows and out of the, was Joel. It's not Joel. It's Jesse, but nonetheless, he does save her life in that part. And shortly after, the two of them have to navigate a fair amount of enemies to get back to Dina.
And they do it without question.
Yeah, and you see, and there's you see this dude who I like Jesse from the beginning back in Jackson, but he does come off a little irritating for certain reasons. You like him more. You find him to be a more endearing character, and he's a great
character.
Yeah,
he's there for Ellie. He's there for Dina. He's there for Tommy. He didn't have to be there.
Yeah.
He volunteered to be there.
Yeah, and you also and I think that rings true and resonates with Dina too, because I will say there's we haven't gotten to the specific scene yet where Jesse and Dina talk at the dance. You're not really clear on what I'm talking about, but
no, from the world premiere the trailer from Ep.3.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's the only trailer you actually watched.
That's the only one I've ever watched.
She's a purist. I couldn't get enough content. She's like, nah, I don't want to know.
That's it. I watched Ep.3 and I'm done.
But in that trailer, you see her and she's kind of cold to Jesse, and you see that melted away through what he just went through for Ellie when Dina realizes that he's in Seattle too, and it presents some more interesting development of these relationships and this, and it's by no means is it a throuple, but it's definitely because I know there's some serious implications here as to whose kid this is, for starters, but whatever. It's really just a familial sense of glad you're okay and you're still alive.
Yes. He doesn't blow it out of proportion in this area. He knows that there's a time and place, and this is neither the time nor place.
My man has couth.
I enjoy that about him. He wants to make sure Dina is okay, and Ellie as well.
Yeah.
So he wants to make sure they all get back to Jackson. I love that about him.
Which will be harder than not, because I find this game more challenging than the last.
It's incredibly challenging. But it's because of that challenge that we enjoy it so much. Because if it was easy, then we could just watch a movie.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, and it is. There's parts of it that are very cinematic, and that you have to do very little through. And even in the QTEs, the quick time events, could I have wanted a little bit more variation of the buttons, other than when I'm playing the guitar, because it's harder than it looks. I promise. You try it.
Show us what you can do.
Yeah, between strumming and just picking. Anyway. There's a lot of QTEs, and sometimes they get a little monotonous, but there are some moments that they pulled up and picked out and made unique from the first game that outmatch the first game significantly. There is a huge distinction in the enemies.
Yes.
If I could get my words out of my mouth. There is the wolves, who you've seen so far, but this playthrough we found our introduction to the scars.
Boy, did we!
And they're both. I feel like the wolves have the numbers, not necessarily the skill. They have the numbers. I find them better armed. But that only matters in sense of ammunition, because the scars, the Seraphites, they use bows more often than they use ammo, and than they use guns, and they are really, really good with them.
Well, that's the difference.
Yeah.
The wolves, they rely on their munitions. They rely on their weapons.
On their might.
And that's what makes them weak, in my opinion.
Because you can always hear them coming.
In comparison to the Seraphites or the Scars. The Scars, they're survivalists.
At first, nearly every encounter we've had with the Scars thus far, when it starts, you can't see them in noise mode. You can't see them. You can't listen for them. They're not. You have to start the battle and get like a few dozen arrows thrown your way before you can really see them in the noise mode. And by then, does noise mode even matter?
At that point, no, because the Scars are scarring, because now we can't hear without punching. Like,
it's terrible.
They're around here somewhere.
Gosh, man, that first time I recognized the overgrowth that I'm crawling through in the woods from from a couple of those scenes that they graced us with early on before the release, and I knew where I was, and I really didn't want to get up, and she kept telling me to get up. Fam, as soon as I got up, I got shot. It's the moment I got up, not the minute, the moment I got up. The moment I decided not to crawl where it was perfectly legitimate crawl space, I could have. The moment I got up, I got an arrow through my body that I had to dig out before I could move efficiently again.
It's not my fault. I didn't know.
Yeah. It was a lot.
It was. I find that you died a lot more when you were going up against the Seraphites than you did against the wolves. The wolves, they're just walking around with weapons. I'm high and mighty, blah, blah, blah.
And I can move through that, but with the Scars, it's just death. After run around for a little while, death. Run around for a little while, death. And just start over. Some of which we left for y'all to see. Don't laugh at me too badly.
I did.
I defy you to do better. Honestly. And that was as far as the Scars, but I will tell you, for the wolves, Hillcrest. It was the first introduction of dogs. It was honestly, where you're like, these are not pettable pooches.
But they're also not Resident Evil type dogs. So they're not turned. These are dogs that we know that we want to pet.
You are watching love their masters as you're contemplating how best to end both of them. And I was forced to. And there were very few moments where I was just like, I can just get out of this without doing it, because you can't. They're too quick. They're fat. They're one of the most efficient enemies in the game. I won't say killers, because they can stop. They immobilize you. By the time you get up, you can be surrounded by enemies. You're getting shot while you're even trying to stand up. There were times when I was going hand to hand with somebody. I'd already shot him once, knew I had a one-time, if I could just machete him, if I could just crowbar him. went out to grab my hand, and a dog literally grabbed it. And it gave this person to recover. I get shot, usually, again, dead. So
yeah, the fact that they weaponized their dogs, it was a great move and it makes sense. It just was hard for me to watch, and I think it was almost hard for him to play through.
Every time I
because
apologized to most of the dogs that I killed. I was like, it's not personal.
It was pretty brutal.
I'm not that. There's, and we honestly try not to put too much of that footage in as well. Though, you know, if you follow our playthrough, you'll see it.
Yeah.
And I honestly, if you can find a better way, get back to me, because it's Hillcrest in particular. Lots of dogs, lots of people, lots of houses, and not nearly enough tall grass. It got real. And I think, honestly, in the last bit, I think ultimately to survive it, I narrated my route and just ran for it. I just ran for it, and it worked. And you can do it, but not without killing a pooch or two sometimes. So
unfortunately, but it's not just the humans or the dogs that are out to get you.
Or challenging, honestly.
We can't forget about the infected.
Yeah,
the world has changed.
And though they're not, they are in. We said this in the last segment. They are in no means, and this was as true in the second game. This is as true in the second game as it was in the first. Even more so now, because society is just a little bit more developed. But they're not the main problem. The infected. But wow, the challenge they presented, the nuanced improvements, Naughty Dog, that you put on some of these.
The evolution.
Yeah, thank you.
The evolution.
You're absolutely
of the infected.
right. Absolutely, and that is what it is, and you attribute it to them getting stronger because bloaters in this game are terrifying. Yeah. Yes. You feel that every encounter with them. Because they're not immune to your noise mode, but you're, not necessarily going to be using that.
There's a lot of running away from them.
That's all there is. And shooting and praying and shouting.
Blind shooting, too. You don't have a lot of chances to aim.
Yeah.
Molotovs don't work. That just makes them angrier.
Yeah, it's very challenging.
They blast through walls.
And it gets downright scary. And there's every situation you're going to walk into, you might walk into with them. You don't want to. And yet, we remember what we lost, and we remember
why we're doing this.
That you're angry, and that you're hurt, and that you're motivated, and we here.
Yep.
And so we push ever onward, and
the loaders and all, bring it.
As scared.
Poopless.
Thank you, and all. Yeah, we here, and it pushes you through because there's a bloodlust to it. There's a drive to it that they motivate you early on, and they do it in extremely graphic fashion, and you keep that at the forefront of your mind.
And that's another reason why we love this game. I am a kind of a crazy person, but in a good way. But my bloodlust has never been so high. We're hunting people now. We're not hunting the infected. We're hunting people.
Yeah. And
so
you're
that
not
we
trying
can
to
get some answers.
Yeah, and you're not trying to survive anything.
Nope.
You're not trying to get someplace. You're not the point of this mission. I don't think it's the point of the game, but it's the point of this mission for Ellie's side of this.
Mm-hmm.
Is going to kill Abby.
Vengeance.
Yeah, bloodlust. And
Vengeance.
that comes through again, and you get a reinvigorated feeling of that, of your fresh anger towards these people when you go up against Nora. But in particular, before Nora, you feel she's numb to it. There's this encounter with this one woman, and it comes blade to blade, and Ellie ends her fairly quickly. And the only thing, honestly, that she has to say after that regarding this woman's feeble attempts to try to defend herself when she knew she didn't have the high ground is that was dumb.
Yep.
As she wipes her blade, and shortly after that, you encounter meeting Nora again, and tables have turned, and Ellie has the upper hand, and you think for just a second like some humanity might be shed here by this woman who's clearly the medical professional of the group, other than Mel.
You think you're going to get some answers. You think you're going to get a little bit of sympathy.
Yeah. And she doesn't. And she says something very cold and, in my opinion, very stupid. And all it did was make me angrier and more resolute. And that's we finished her.
You continue it. Just when your bloodlust begins to drop just a little bit, it's like, whoa, this is starting to get gratuitous. This is starting to get, we're killing a lot of people.
They do something else where you're like, no, I'm doing everything.
You're like, you know what? Right. Nope, let's keep going. Push through.
Yeah.
So that bloodlust pushes you through the game. If you need a reason to play this game, it is for that vengeance.
Yeah.
For that conclusion.
And it's interesting, and it's very, the thought-provoking moments of this game that make you, the conversations you have outside of this game when you're not playing it, when your PS4's off, when anytime, the morning after a night with some crazy stuff in this game, we'll just sit there and be like, so what did we just watch? Yeah. And it's very thought-provoking, and one of the things presented in this, like we said, this bloodlust and is, though there's, man has been given a very common threat, no matter what group you're in or who you pray to or who you're trying to kill. The fact remains, there's these zombies out there that are trying to kill you, and why can't you
and not just you, but everyone.
So why can't you just concentrate on that? But we still see these people finding,
each other,
inventing reasons to hate and to kill each other, and it brings to mind the question, and I believe you're gonna ask yourself this at some point while you play this game: is the killing of one man worth the killing of many to avenge that man or person? And it's funny because you can't ask that question one-sidedly. You cannot ask that for Ellie and say yes. You cannot. You are presented, and that's where we find ourselves at the end. You find yourself presented at the beginning of the question for somebody else, and that somebody else is Abby.
Yes.
Because right when it leads up to a very pivotal point cinematically, we're thrust in the shoes of Abby, and we're not even in the same time period.
No.
It feels like a cold water bucket challenge, just of an attempt.
It tries to douse our fire of vengeance.
To really, and I have to say, Naughty Dog, it's probably not going.
It's not going to work. I'm not here for it.
And you're presented at very quickly what seemed to be leading up to the reasons why Abby did this to Joel. And
that's great and all. And I remember saying, while at the very beginning, after this happened, if Naughty Dog is trying to teach me a lesson, I'm not going to learn it.
And what I said is, if you wanted me to sympathize with this girl over the loss of what I believe is going to be her father. That's what I think. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a surgeon we killed. That's a surgeon Joel killed at the end of the first game.
It could be. You're probably right.
You see the scientist talking about these things, and you see Marlene again in a flashback in that same hospital in Utah, and you see her telling this doctor that this is not a good idea, that we should probably still not be doing this. And you see him just kind of decide to go forth anyway. Go forward anyway.
Which is odd because he was willing to risk it all for a zebra and her cult.
You see that.
But will not even question or think or pause at taking the life of a 14-year-old.
Even when he has a daughter of his own.
Of similar age.
So, in the name of that, the question cannot be asked the same way of both people that we've played as thus far, and it certainly can't be answered the same way. Because for Ellie, my answer is yes. The killing of one man can. If that one man tried to save your life moments before you shot him in the back and bashed his head in. And
shot him in the leg.
And my answer for that question to Abby is, I don't care, because of my answer to the first.
Yep. That's where I am now.
And that's where we leave ourselves. And maybe they'll try to change our minds some more. Maybe they'll sprinkle in some humanity.
You can try.
But unless you find a way to make me have amnesia while I'm playing this game.
Well, it's because of the bloodlust that I'm not willing to give that any credit.
Yeah, and what I said is honestly to her, I said if they wanted us to sympathize, they should have made a game about Abby and her father, but they didn't. So
nope. They
made a game about Joel and Ellie. So hopefully we'll get back to that soon, and hopefully you'll be joining us again.
That would be great. Please do.
I'm Whitman Fly.
And I'm Summer Nosuke.
In the meantime, stay perky.
And keep on grinding. Bye.